Okay, potentially controversial opinion incoming. If you have kids, you might want to cover their ears. I like Fortnite more than I like PlayerUnknown's, and I feel like that's something I want to talk about because, the last week or so, Bluehole's been making some very silly demands and accusations towards Fortnite Battle Royale being very similar to PlayerUnknown's. So, I figure that's probably a good topic to talk about because I tried Fortnite Battle Royale now for a couple hours, and I wouldn't have if Bluehole didn't open their mouths about it because I had zero interest in even looking at the game before. But now I'm like, okay, I might as well get involved with stupidity, so let's do this. I think Fortnite Battle Royale, even in its newly released state, works a lot better than PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds does, and this is all subjective stuff, I mean, aside from some of the technical things, but if you like PlayerUnknown's better, that's fine. I played that game for like 15 hours, then I was kind of done with it. This one I've played for about 3 or 4 hours, so, I'm not an expert in these Battle Royale games, but I know what I like when I'm playing them. And when you're playing a Battle Royale game that has such a high emphasis on PvP, I mean, that's what Battle Royale games at their core are. It's a high-volume player base with PvP. There's certain things in it that I feel like really need to be focused on, and I feel like Fortnite's Battle Royale mode has done that a lot better even early on than PlayerUnknown's has. And that might be, in fact, due to Epic's involvement in it and their history and their ability, but the game runs a lot better already. And again, that could be because they know the Unreal Engine a bit more, but it runs at a constant, like, it drops down to maybe 54, 55, but then back up to 60 pretty instantly. And aside from a few server latency issues, I haven't really been having any problems with performance, and that's a really big thing when you're playing a very high populous PvP style game. When a game doesn't feel like you have to fight against the mechanics or the controls or the performance problems in it, then it makes it instantly more enjoyable, even if it's lacking in certain areas, like say there's no drivable vehicles. But that being said, are the PlayerUnknown's vehicles really all that great? No, they kind of handle like an RC car, so, it's something I don't really miss. And when you get down to it, Fortnite is very similar indeed to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. You spawn in from the air, you jump out of a bus instead of a plane, and then you go to an area on the map, and then there's a circle that closes in. You find weapons, you fire at other players, you try to be the last person standing. It's very, very similar, and it does get to the point where I feel like they could have differentiated a few things, like, say, maybe tweak the spawning mechanic a little bit so it doesn't seem completely ripped out of PlayerUnknown's. Although, with that in mind, I feel like the Battle Royale game is kind of becoming its own game mode or genre, and you're going to see a lot of repetition in that, so I feel like it's eventually going to become pretty well as common as something like Capture the Flag or Domination, or maybe like, probably not Deathmatch or anything, but it's kind of like becoming the same style of thing where it's a game mode rather than like a specific game itself. And when something starts to get near that point, I kind of just value my time and the performance of the game ahead of some of the other aspects of it. Fortnite, to me, it runs better, and I prefer the pace of the game as well. It feels faster than PlayerUnknown's does. There's things like the lack of a prone mechanic, for example, so you get less people trying to lie down in the grass and not be seen for the entire match, and it feels like you have more of a chance when you get into firefights as well. Aside from maybe like the sniper rifles, which I feel are a little bit overpowered at this point because I can be wandering around and instantly just disappear from the game because someone has a sniper rifle and they built a bunch of stairs that go all the way up into the heavens. The faster pace, to me, really makes the game more enjoyable because I feel like I'm wasting my time less. I work full-time and then I do YouTube as well, and the amount of different games I play, I usually don't get to stick around in specific ones for a long time, so if I play PlayerUnknown's for 5 minutes, run around, nothing happens, then I instantly die, I feel like I'm just wasting part of my day when I could be doing other things, and I feel that less when I'm playing Fortnite, which is kind of a big bonus to me. I prefer the art style and the presentation in Fortnite as well, and that's a very subjective thing because some people are going to prefer the pseudo-realism from PlayerUnknown's, but for me it's like, okay, this game is being presented to me very simply. It's got lots of bright colors to it. I can clearly see all the items on the ground. They float above the ground when someone dies and they like explode and go everywhere. I think that's hilarious, but I also think it's very useful because when you have items that are clearly floating above the grass and you can see them, it makes picking them up very easy. And I find it infuriating in a game like PlayerUnknown's where you're trying to, say, wade through water to find specific items and stuff and you can't. In this one, they're all glowing, they're right in front of you, and to me, that just kind of keeps the game moving faster and results in less downtime while you try to kit yourself out and pick things up. Because when you can't pick things up, it's annoying. And it's other little things in the presentation, like the map having very clearly labeled locations and a very nice topography that's very easy to navigate and learn. I feel like I already know more about this map than I do in the entire time I played PlayerUnknown's. Are you getting sick of me comparing this game to PlayerUnknown's yet? Because I feel like a lot of people are going to be, but at the same time, I don't know what else to compare it to, and this is a very on-topic comparison, so I'm probably going to keep doing it. And once again, I don't care if you prefer PlayerUnknown's, that's totally fine. You do you, whatever. Personally, I think it's good that we have a game like Fortnite that can do a Battle Royale mode and get a lot of people playing it, even if the reason a lot of people are playing it is because their competitor indirectly shot themselves in the foot when they tried to open their mouth about the game being too similar. You know, I've seen people on the internet saying that Fortnite's Battle Royale shouldn't exist, but I fundamentally disagree because we need to have competition in our Battle Royale games. It makes Fortnite have to work harder to reach the same level as PlayerUnknown's does, and it makes PlayerUnknown's have to fight to kind of keep its spot, which is sorely needed in basically any consumer industry. Because when you don't have competition for games, and when your games don't try to be different but while keeping some of the fundamentals, then you end up in bad scenarios where developers feel like they don't have to update or change anything, and that can really cause a lot of problems. So for example, we can look at a game like, say, Total War. Now, I played Warhammer 2 very recently. I really like that game, but say the AI in the Total War series hasn't really evolved a whole lot in the last 10 or so years, and they've focused more on minor little updates than anything else. Now, if Total War had a bit more competition doing very similar stuff that they are, so I'm talking about like the actual Total War experience where you have an entire army and legions of troops and everything that you're commanding in that very familiar Total War way, if there was another series that could do that, they could, say, make some updates to AI or give them some different tweaks and stuff that would make the developers of Total War say, okay, well, we probably have to do something to make our game still competitive with this one, or it could be vice versa as well. And if that were the case, then you'd be seeing Total War taking a lot more risks with how the gameplay evolves than they currently are. I like Total War. I don't know why I'm ragging on that game so much right now. It's really fun. But anyways, back to Fortnite. I really like it. It's my preferred Battle Royale experience, and it's free to try. So, like, if you want to try a Battle Royale game, I would try this one because it's free. You're not paying a lot of money for it, and that makes more sense. Like, I doubt this is going to convince anyone who really likes PlayerUnknown's to play this one instead, because that would be like telling someone who plays World of Warcraft to try any other new MMO on the market. You've already sunk a bunch of time into one game. Why would you feel the need to switch over to something that's essentially the same thing? I totally get that, and that's fine, but personally, I think Fortnite is my preferred version of the Battle Royale genre, and that's okay. Right, I think I've rambled on enough about Fortnite. I like it. It's a good game. You could try it if you want to. It's free. I don't see the reason not to. Let me know your thoughts on Fortnite if you've tried it and the situation between Fortnite and PlayerUnknown's. I am PattyJack. I will see you next time. Have a wonderful day.